Okay, so you guys just finished taking your notes on the positive, negative designs, where we talked about geometric and organic shapes and positive and negative shapes. So when we're looking at our final product, which is this right here, here's your example. We're looking at geometric shapes. I have geometric shapes here and organic shapes in these two areas right here. The geometric shapes are going to be positive, so the shapes are filled in and the background is negative. The organic shapes, the shapes are negative and then the background is positive and filled in on both sides. So before we get started on our final, we need to practice how to make geometric and organic shapes. On the piece of free draw paper that you guys have, you should have your notes on a piece of free draw paper, you're going to practice drawing some geometric and organic shapes. So here are some examples. Any shape you can make with straight lines and sharp corners is considered geometric. Okay? Any shape that has free-flowing lines, no straight lines, no sharp corners, that's going to be organic. I can kind of zoom in a little bit on this one so you guys can see it a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so on your free draw paper, what I want you to do is you're going to just write out geometric again. I know you already took notes on it. You're just going to write out geometric. Now I'm writing in Sharpie so you guys can see it a little bit better on the screen, but I do want you guys to work with pencil. And geometric, it doesn't have to be a specific shape. You can completely make up the shape all on your own. Okay, so I want 3 examples of geometric shapes. I might make one that looks more like a little tree or a cactus. I'm not sure, as long as it's made with straight lines, sharp corners. I could even make a bubble letter. Okay, so there's my 3 examples of geometric shapes. Then I'm going to do organic. And I do want you guys to make up your own. Don't copy mine. Okay, with organic, you can make little bubbles. Okay, circles are organic. Okay, the exception to the sharp corner is a spiral. So you can create a spiral that has a sharp corner on it, or you can create a spiral that's completely smooth. It doesn't have to have a sharp corner on it. Okay, that's all you have to do. 3 examples of geometric, 3 examples of organic. So while you're practicing those, you can pause the video. When you unpause it, I'm going to show you guys how to start your final. Okay, so once you have practiced your geometric and your organic shapes, you're ready to start your final. You're going to get a piece of paper that's 9 inches by 9 inches. And what we need to do is draw a line right down the middle on both sides. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to take my ruler, and half of 9 is 4.5. So I need to make sure that I line up my ruler. If you see, the 0 does not start on the edge of my ruler. Check the wooden and the metal rulers. It may not start on the very, very end. Okay, so I'm going to line up that 0-inch mark. Okay, now you can see it's about 1/8 of an inch too far on the 9 inches. So it's about 9 1/8 of an inch. That's okay. Still use the 4.5. So what I do is I just make a little mark at my 4.5 inch mark. Then I slide my ruler down and I make another mark at 4.5. Now I do this so that way when I draw these 2 lines together, when I connect them, it's going to be a straight line. And I need to make sure that I line them up. And just draw it lightly to start off with, so just hold the back of your pencil and draw your line in. Okay, so that's 1. So I've divided it in half this way. I need to repeat the process. I need to do the same thing here. So again, I'm going to line up my ruler, make a mark at 4.5 inches, make another mark. Now we do this so you make a straight line. No matter how good you think you are at making straight lines, you're not. Okay, so make sure that you have 2 marks that you can line up. And if you do this, the rest of your drawing should go smoothly. If you don't make these lines correctly, you're going to run into problems later on. Okay, now I can start drawing geometric and organic shapes. So if I draw geometric here and I fill in my space, I don't want to put geometric right next to it. So we're going to create a pattern. We're going to do geometric, organic. If organic is here, geometric has to go here. And then this one's going to be organic. So I can fill in my area with geometric shapes. I can have large shapes, I can have small shapes, but here's something we didn't practice. You want to make your shapes close to each other, so it's almost like they're a puzzle piece. They can go to the edge, that's fine, or they can stop at the edge. So I want you to imagine if I were to push these pieces together, the gaps are in here. They kind of look like a puzzle piece if I were to put them together. Okay, but we need to leave spaces in between. If we don't leave spaces in between when we're coloring, everything's going to become one giant blob. So as long as I'm making these with straight lines and sharp corners, it's my geometric design. If you struggle with making straight lines, use the ruler. Okay, once I've filled this area right here, I'm ready to trace. You'll get tracing paper that looks like this. You're going to line it up with your edges, and you're going to trace over all of your shapes. You want to get as close as you can to the shapes that you already have. Now, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to finish up tracing so you don't have to watch me in the video trace all of these shapes, and then I'll get you going on the next step. So I finished tracing all of my shapes, so I have my design transferred onto my tracing paper. Now here's the tricky part. What we're going to do is we're actually going to flip it over so it's pencil side down. So I drew on this side, so I'm going to flip it over, but I need to go into this corner right here. And what I want is I want this shape in this corner. So I have to turn it until that shape is in the corner. I'm going to make the edges of my tracing paper. Okay. Now I have to transfer it, okay? Again, your pencil side needs to be facing the paper, the pencil side that you drew on. Otherwise, this next step will not work. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're actually just going to press on top of these lines. And if you notice, I'm not just drawing one straight line, because then I'd have to make sure that I trace it absolutely perfect, and that doesn't always work for me. So I go over it a few times when I'm transferring it. It doesn't make it very pretty on the backside, but that doesn't matter. Okay, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is trace over all these lines. I'm going to just do a few shapes so you guys can see how this process works. Obviously, you guys would trace all of your shapes to transfer them. They're not going to be really dark, and that's okay. As long as you guys can see them to color, it's absolutely fine. You do not need to retrace over them. Okay, now this one, I'm going to give you guys an example of what some students do and say that this process doesn't work. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm not tracing over my lines completely, okay? Yes, I've traced a similar shape, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see this a little bit more. But if you notice, I missed the line. I didn't press over the top of this. So do you think it's going to transfer? Nope. So the other one's transferred. It's harder to see on your screen, but I can see on mine. It's kind of light, but that's all that I need. I just need to know where to start and stop coloring. So you're going to transfer all of these. So I would go over the top of all of my lines, and then you can go on to your next design, which is just going to be an organic design up here, and you repeat the tracing process. So really all you have to come up with is one geometric design and one organic design. I'm going to pause the video, and when you're ready, I'll go over coloring. Okay, so for coloring this in, you guys have a couple choices. You can use color pencil, which is this here, and this one here is color pencil. You can use the Mr. Sketch markers in the supply buckets, and that's this one right here, or the really, really thin Crayola markers. When I was coloring this in, I will tell you it's kind of a pain to use the teeny tiny markers when you're filling in a large area. You will see the marker line. So if you know that that's something that's going to bug you, go for color pencil. Even with the Mr. Sketch markers, these are easier to use because it filled in the space a lot better, easier because they're larger, but you see the marker lines in there. Personally, I don't like that. And so if I had to do this over again, I would probably do color pencil on everything. But that's a personal choice and you guys get to choose. If you want to use color pencil and marker, that's absolutely fine. You can mix and match, okay? Now, with this, I told you I did positive shapes here, so my shapes are filled in. So the next one, I wouldn't want to have positive shapes in here. So I need to make sure these are negative. Okay, then the next one, you can sense a pattern. These are positive, these are negative. So it just goes in a circle. Positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay, once you finish coloring these in, you are done with the project. Good job, guys.